Meanwhile, the AI summit has been rocked by politics, which I guess was to be expected. More than 100 countries are participating. All of them have AI ambitions, so forging a consensus was always going to be hard. Even harder than the last two summits. In 2023 and 2024, the US was leading the AI revolution. This time, there are more players though. You've got DeepSeek from China, you've got Mistral from Europe. Even India wants an AI model within the next 10 months. So clearly, different priorities. And all eyes are on the joint statement. Which countries will sign on and which countries will not? Well, two big names are off the table, the US and the UK. Both President Trump and Prime Minister Keir Starmer are not here in Paris, and that in itself is a message to France. Apparently, the US had issues with the draft statement. It talks about sustainable and green AI, and that is something that Trump is not a fan of. You see, America is home to 33% of all data centers in the world. They are key to building AI models, but most of these centers run on oil and gas. Their emissions are off the chart. Globally, data centers produce 2.5 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide, which is equal to Russia's total emissions every year. So Macron is pushing for green AI. He wants nuclear or renewable energy to power data centers, and Donald Trump opposes this. As for the UK, their problem is not clear yet. Reports say they're simply following Trump's lead. French President Macron, though, is not backing down. He took a swipe at Trump yesterday. He said Trump may want to drill, baby, drill, but he wants to plug, baby, plug. Listen to this.
Last year, we exported 90 terawatt-hour, 90, which means we can localize a lot of data centers on top of what we need in terms of electricity for our own companies, our own households. So it's very important in this world where I have a good friend in the other part of the ocean saying, drill, baby, drill. Here, there is no need to drill. It's just plug, baby, plug. Electricity is available. You can plug, it's ready.
And what about India? Prime Minister Modi is co-chairing the summit. So what are India's priorities? Broadly speaking, there are three areas: equity, inclusiveness, and ethics. India wants to speak for the global south because right now no one is doing that. AI is being developed, used, and deployed mostly in the West, and India wants to change that. It wants to ensure global south countries benefit from this new technology. Even France shares this goal, which is why Macron invited Modi to co-chair the summit. He sees the value in global south nations. But here's the problem. How many of these ideas will make it to the joint statement? Probably very few. So we've drawn up a list of proposals, things we believe should be a priority here in Paris. Number one, do not walk away from regulation. I know it's attractive right now. China and America are racing ahead in the AI game, so no one wants to be left behind. Therefore, no one wants regulation. But in the long run, this is going to be dangerous. We need binding checks on AI companies and models. Reports say the joint statement will not address that. Instead, it will pledge an open, multi-stakeholder approach, which experts call meaningless. Reports also say that the statement will drop warnings on AI in cybersecurity and disinformation. Again, these are non-negotiable. Which brings us to priority number two, green AI. You've got many tactics to choose from. You could mandate 100% green energy in upcoming data centers. You could ban building of oil-run centers. You could also set a deadline to phase out fossil fuels. You could cap energy use at data centers. One version of this should be adopted. A version that is acceptable to all nations. And I know that President Macron is pushing for nuclear energy, and it's certainly better than fossil fuels, but it's not practical for every country at the moment. Nuclear energy has its own set of dangers, so we need to be mindful of that. Next is priority number three, focus on real-world applications. For example, healthcare. AI models can be trained on health data. They can detect and even predict diseases based on symptoms. They may catch something that your doctor misses. So AI can revolutionize healthcare. We know that. We are not saying replace doctors with AI models. We are saying integrate and use AI to boost the doctor's productivity. This will especially be useful in poorer countries which lack adequate number of doctors. And then we have the fourth priority, democratizing AI. Right now, a handful of AI companies are calling the shots. Your Googles, Metas, and OpenAIs of the world. It's almost like an AI oligarchy. And it's heading the same way as social media. Now, we need to ensure that that does not happen. We need startups and smaller innovators to come forward. How do you do that? By forcing governments to take on big roles. We can take ideas from different countries. For example, China's focus on open source models. It has prompted other firms to take note. Even OpenAI is now making an open source model. From India, we can take the sharing approach. In India, the government is setting up a common computing facility. It is open to all developers, to all startups. The government has also created a public data set. Again, accessible to developers. So we need to draw ideas from different places. We must make the AI landscape more competitive and more inclusive. And that brings us to the final priority that we are pitching. Create a forum to share AI data sets and strategies. If not, certain areas will lag behind. Take Africa, for example. African nations rank at the bottom of AI readiness tables. Only a tiny fraction of African data is used to train AI models. To correct this, we need global cooperation. We need a place to share national data sets. And these are just the 5 priorities that we wanted to highlight today. Frankly, the most important one is political. We need to view these AI summits differently. Yes, there is geopolitics involved, but if we focus too much on the geopolitics, we will miss out on the actual benefits. After all, isn't that the point of technology? To better human lives. These summits need to put humans at the center of their agenda, not politics or tech races. We're calling this show Vantage. We hope you like what we put together for you. And now touted as the minimum defense from that video. India's neighbors were the first to send the special edition of Vantage live from the White House throughout this week. Yes, Hindu Mandir, we're on our way to Tel Aviv. Pretty measure, but it's also the perfect way to drive.
I don't think that
Prime Minister of Bhutan, Sherin Thagbir. Welcome to
60% of the world's
office. Prime Minister Modi did the iron.
we were actually
How are you doing? How do you like? It's been 1 year since that meeting. Iron bars separate you from the outside. Out the vote effort. Trump had, it says, and at $4.3 trillion. 4.3 300 billion by 2030. That's what we need to tackle climate change.